Hello, just testing my mic here. Somebody can verify you can hear me. It's Keith Burke.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I believe we have a quorum. I'm going to ask Pat to call the roll now.
Good morning, everyone. City of Avondale, Harold Seguina.
Present.
City of Buckeye, James Shano, Dan Cotterman, or John Willett.
Actually, this is Javier Sedovich, Deputy City Manager. I'm participating for representing Buckeye.
Great, thank you so much. City of Chandler, Ryan Peters.
Present.
City of El Mirage, Amber Wakeman. She's on WebEx. Town of Fountain Hills, Dave Trimble. Town of Gilbert, Mary Goodman.
Here.
City of Glendale, Kevin Phelps.
Here.
City of Goodyear, Winnette Reed. Maricopa County, Jason Matthews. City of Mesa, Jody Sorrell. She is in the elevator on her way up. City of Peoria, Chris Hallett. He's also on WebEx. City of Phoenix, Jesus Sapien.
Here.
Town of Queen Creek, Shay Joaquim.
Present.
City of Scottsdale, Mark Melanchenko. He is also on WebEx. City of Surprise, Tracy Montgomery.
Tracy Montgomery present.
Thank you. And City of Tempe, Sam Stevenson.
Keith Burke here for alternative for Rosa and Chelsea today, Deputy City
Okay.
Manager.
Okay, great. Thank you. Chair, we're ready to proceed.
All right, thank you, Pat. Just a reminder, if a committee member would like to ask a question or make a comment during the meeting, please type your comment in the box and it'll be read aloud and answered, or raise your hand if you have a question for a presenter. And all meeting attendees, please ensure that your computer or microphone is muted. Now we're going to move on to public comment. The public will be provided with an opportunity at this time to address the committees on non-agenda items and all action agenda items for the joint RPTA and Valley Metro Rail meeting agendas. Up to 3 minutes will be provided per speaker, unless I allow more time at my discretion. A total of 15 minutes for all speakers will be provided. Are there any public comments, Pat?
No, sir, not today.
Okay, I'm going to call on Jessica to provide a report on the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the committee. I have a number of items to provide you with updates on this morning. October is a busy month in the Valley. The news of today, though, is the victory of Prop 479 with currently 60% of the favorable vote. We are delighted that voters have expressed their strong value in our transportation system, including and especially public transit. We appreciate the voters' voice and their vote of confidence to renew Prop 479, our countywide sales tax. We're so grateful for the leadership of our member communities. And I do want to note that unified, strong leadership that we've had in the region for so long, including present, which has carried this forward. We appreciate the support and collaboration of our member city staff. And I want to express my gratitude to Valley Metro staff for your dedication and hard work. The work you do every day has engendered the support of our community. You should be very proud of that. I want to recognize Alexis Tamron-Kinsey in particular for her work leading up to this process, including getting the enabling legislation over the finish line and making the very strong case for the value of public transit in the context of our regional transportation system. With this passage, we will continue to deliver critical lifeline service across the region, and the Valley will continue to be a national leader in transportation. So thank you for your continued leadership and support. It's a big day. Our fare collection modernization program continues. We are now at the final stages of implementation. As of October 31, we hope that all of our customers have in their hands a copper card or making use of a stored value card like a platinum pass or the mobile ticketing. We have continued to conduct extensive outreach. We recently hosted 31 different pop-up events and town halls. We had 150 participants at our town halls where we also offered reduced fare registration. Reduced fare registration is new to our system, so we're continuing to walk our most valuable customers, our seniors and our disabled customers, through the process of obtaining that certification, which is now going to be required to purchase reduced fare media. We've also conducted extensive on-system outreach. So that means on buses, on trains, at stations and transit centers. And we estimate that we've had over 20,000 interactions on our on-system outreach to date. We've had over 50 Valley Metro team members volunteering on a regular basis to go out and make contact and support our customers through this transition. I thank our team for that. We've also conducted tabling at over 100 events hosted by other forums like YMCA, resource fairs, schools, city festivals, events at our garages for our frontline team, that's our operators and our contract security team members. And we estimate that we've had over 5,000 interactions through those tabling events. Next slide, please. And the next stage, by the way, this latter push in the month of November for fare collection modernization, we are identifying individuals who don't yet have that fare media, providing them with guidance on how to obtain that and even how to exchange any paper tickets they might continue to have in their possession. Moving back to 19th and Dunlap on October 26th, along with the City of Phoenix and 19 North Community Alliance, we hosted a family festival at the 19th and Dunlap Park and Ride to celebrate the reactivation of what is now called Plaza 19. Over the past year, Plaza 19 has undergone significant enhancements to both better serve the community and our transit users. This is really our first introduction of a bit of crime prevention through environmental design on this project. The goal of these upgrades is to showcase this unique space in this plaza that offers a blend of transit functionality and community engagement opportunities, and also introduces a paid fare zone. The event on October 26th welcomed over 500 community members. We had a touch-a-truck element with dozens of vehicles on display, as well as trick-or-treating for the kids, because who doesn't need more bags of candy in their household? We are especially grateful to our city leaders, including Mayor Gallego, Valley Metro Rail Vice Chair, Councilmember Laura Pastor, Councilmember Anna O'Brien, and Deputy City Manager Maria Paniagua for their participation in the event last Saturday. October is and always is Rideshare Month in the Valley, and this is a yearly initiative to encourage commuters to utilize alternative transportation. And this is an important element of the pieces of service that Valley Metro offers. We hosted 3 pop-up educational events around the Valley at the Thelda Williams Transit Center, the Goodyear Park and Ride, and at Arizona State University. We were joined at those events by Tempe Mayor Corey Woods, Goodyear Mayor Joe Pizzillo, and also our Tempe for joining us at Tempe and Goodyear. During the month of October, more than 1,500 participants logged over 31,000 trips on sharetheride.com, saving more than 196 tons of emissions in the month of October alone. We also celebrated our 37th annual Clean Air Campaign Awards. Many of you attended that wonderful event. The Commute Solutions team does a wonderful job of putting this on, and it really is a celebration of our clean air heroes. This event was attended by more than 350 people, including a special visit from D. Baxter Bobcat, who joined us as we recognized a Valley Metro team member and celebrated our clean air champions. The program is this: employees and employers who participate in the Maricopa County Travel Reduction Program are awarded for their efforts to improve air quality in promotion of their travel reduction programs. We have winners in the room today, including the City of Phoenix, City of Chandler, Mesa, and Scottsdale, and also Goodyear. We're especially grateful for our many elected officials. We had great turnout at the event last week from the cities of Phoenix, Chandler, Avondale, Tempe, Surprise, Glendale, and Fountain Hills. And special thank you to our board chair, Chandler Vice Mayor Harris, and Phoenix Council Member Pastor for sharing agency updates at the event. We are really picking up steam on the South Central extension. Earlier in October, we actually completed our final track pour at Baseline and Central. So all of the track on this 5.5 mile extension is now completely installed and embedded in concrete. This has been after a year plus of very swift and excellent work performed by the crews on the ground. So quite a milestone, and we have more milestones to come in the very near future as we look toward pre-revenue operations beginning in 2025. The project, next slide, please. The project's currently at about 94% complete. This is actually Buckeye and Central, showing some of the great progress being made on not just roadways, but now we're finishing up things like sidewalks, driveways, the architectural massing of the stations. So to residents, businesses, and visitors in South Central, this is now beginning to feel more like a transit project and less like a construction zone, though we do have about 6% of the project work to complete. Downtown, this is Cityscape. This is our overhead catenary system, and this level of excitement is building. We're starting to actually hang wires. So The work that we have left to do on the project now becomes largely electrical in nature. We're installing and powering up our OCS system. In the last few weeks, we have begun systems integrated testing at the downtown hub, and we'll continue that testing in segments beginning soon to head south toward baseline in the coming months. We're also working very closely on safety and security as part of our readiness for service review with Federal Transit Administration. It's quite an extensive process. And one of the items on the board agenda today is an update to the operations and maintenance agreement Valley holds with City of Phoenix. One of the items on the agenda today is also a final extension of the ACI rail operations contract, which would provide the operators that will need to support service on the South Central extension. A lot of work ahead, but we do look forward to opening South Central in mid-2025. Finally, taking a quick look ahead, this will be our final TMC RMC committee meeting for the year, as we don't have a December cycle. We do have a rather full agenda today and items that we're trying to pass by the end of the year, and we should expect a rather full agenda for our January 2025 meeting, which will find us back in this room for TMC RMC on January 8th, leading up ultimately to the January 23rd board committee meeting. We're also going to be working to schedule a board retreat sometime in the first quarter of calendar year 2025 when we have new board members seated. So we'll be working with city staff and board members and team to arrange that. That concludes my update, Mr. Chair. Any questions I may answer?
Are there any questions? All right, thank you, Jessica. And I'd also like to take a moment to congratulate the region for the result of Prop 479. It really speaks to the confidence that the voters have in transportation and transit staff across the region. So thank you, everyone, for your hard work. Agenda item number 3, minutes. Minutes from the September 4th TMC RMC meeting are presented for approval. I'll request a motion in a second to approve the meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Montgomery second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, annual insurance coverage renewal. Jessica, please introduce this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to ask Michael Walrow, Chief Legal Officer, to address our annual insurance renewal. Michael.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. We are at our annual insurance renewal. I know it's everybody's favorite part of the year, a signal to the start of the holiday season. We noticed that insurance, the insurance market continues to tighten. You're probably experiencing that in your own cities. The information that insurance brokers are providing and asking for as we go out and we negotiate in the market continues to be, they continue to ask for more comprehensive information. I'm happy to say I believe because of the quality of data and information that we're able to provide with our broker, Alliant, and their excellent work in negotiating, that we have good news for this insurance renewal cycle. The types of insurance that we will that we go out for continue to be the same. There's no major changes there, but we do see, if we could go back one slide, please. We do continue to see increases because of external factors on the market, inflation, and for us, the biggest factor of change is that we continue to grow in the assets and the services that we provide. Year over year, for the past 5 years, we've typically, the average for the year over year increase has been 21%. Last year's increase was 16%. And this year, it looks like with estimates, we don't have all of the final numbers in yet, but we're looking at a 7%. So a 1-digit increase over the insurance from last year. Last year, we paid, we had a not to exceed amount of almost 6.8 million, ended up spending about 6.6 when all was said and done in paying out the policies. This year, we don't have all of the policies in yet. We can go to the next slide. We don't have all of the policy quotes in yet, but with estimates on the conservative side, we're looking at right around 7 million for not to exceed amount. Rail pays, there's a distribution between rail and RPTA. It's about 93% on the rail side to 7% on the bus side. Might fluctuate a little bit by the final number and those quotes that come in, but that's where the split comes in. The increase for RPTA looks like it's going to be about a 21% increase over last year, but they pay a much smaller portion of the insurance premium. For rail, it looks like it's going to be 6%, and that averages out to a 7% increase. A couple of lines that we do know about that I wanted to point out just really quickly. First is you see there at the bottom of the chart, we're looking at workers' comp from Copper Point with a 40% increase. If a question arises to that, we attribute that to increased staff. There are also some increased claims, but really the biggest part is historically Copper Point has given us exceptional rates, and we knew at some point that there was going to be a correction. We've been waiting for that, not asking for it, but knowing that it was going to come along at some point. I think we're seeing some of that this year. Copper Point continues to be the best quote for workers' comp, and we are recommending sticking with Copper Point, but that number is a little bit higher than we would have expected. The other number is the rolling stock, where you see that at 11%. That's our inland marine, that's coverage on our vehicles, and it's the biggest piece, the biggest chunk of insurance because those vehicles are so expensive. We're seeing an 11% increase there, but that also reflects a 9% reduction in the premium from the last year. So I'm glad to be able to announce that through negotiations, we were able to bring that premium down. We've had a couple of actuarial reports over the last couple of years to gauge where our insurance status is. We're not recommending any major changes based upon that actuarial report at this time. As we continue to move forward and insurance markets continue to change, we may have to have a discussion about some of our self-insured rates. And that possibility might arise if we see some of the lines, like a big line, like rolling stock, where we don't find insurers anymore. This year, it's good news, and we were actually able to bring that premium down. So we're a little more encouraged that the insurance market's going to stay engaged there. Any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, I'll request a motion and a second to forward this item to the boards of directors for approval.
I'll make a motion to send that to the board of directors for approval.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 5, printing services contract authorization increase and contract extension. Jessica, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd actually like to invite Beth Thomas to the podium to introduce this item.
Hello, Chair and committee members. My name is Beth Thomas, and I am the business manager for the CSI division. What we are requesting today is an extension of a current printing services contract with the 2-year renewal, which would take us through January 2027, and a contract authority increase of $990,000 split between RPTA in the amount of $810,000 and VMR in the amount of $180,000. When this contract was initially done, it was a 3-year base contract. That contract started in January of 2022 and is ending in January of 2025. The base current contract amount was not to exceed $1.324,000. We have spent the majority on the RPTA end of it. We still have funds available in the VMR. So what I was doing is I looked at like the expenses, like the monthly, and projected out what we're expected to do over the next, through January 2027, and anticipated what the need was. We are printing more on behalf of the region and regional initiatives such as the FAIR FCSM project. We've got the upcoming SC South Central Extension opening too. So our printing costs have increased and we're doing more of it. With this, again, this was a late add to this, and that's just because with no board meeting in December. This contract actually is due to expire in January 16th of 2025. So two pieces to it, the extending to 2027 and increasing the funds. I do want to point out that we are not requesting increases to budget. This is only the increase to contract award for current printing suppliers. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the committee? One question.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. That was my question, is what is the nature of the increase? And normally I would have asked that at RTAG, but I wasn't here for that meeting because the report says increases in paper and labor prices based on current trends. So I guess my recommendation would be, the discussion with the board, talk about the nature of the increase. Is it more what's in here or what you said earlier relative to having to print more items?
The majority is printing more items. We have 7 contracted printers, and they do, exceptional work, and they have been very, work with us on prices as well. So, but it is a consideration.
Perfect, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll request a motion and a second to approve this item as printed on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval on this item.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Item number 6, strategic plan actions for FY 2025. Jessica, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are busy making progress against our strategic plan, and we have a commitment to come back to this body, RTAG, and the board of directors with an update every quarter. In detail, we'll review a subset of the initiatives each quarter. This month's is Invest in Talent, Leadership and Execution, Board Governance, and Financial Sustainability. Actually, I keep saying quarter, but it's each month. We also have a quarterly report on all initiatives, and that is included in your packet. So I'd like to invite Jim Hill, your Chief Administrative Officer, to the podium to give us an update on those 4 goal areas.
Members, thank you very much, Jessica. So as Jessica mentioned, we're on a rotating quarterly update cycle for a little more detailed discussion of the actions that we're working on. The presentation in your packet continues to use the pyramidal graphic that's intended to illustrate the relationship between the goals and initiatives, essentially strategies, that the board approved and the actions that we're pursuing in each year. In the interest of your time, I'd be happy to just answer any questions that you have on the actions that we're working on, or if you'd like to hear more about a particular action, I'm sure the executive sponsor would love to fill you in. Is there anything you'd like to hear more about for the 4 goals that are included in your packet today?
Is there any interest in the committee from hearing from Jim on any collaboration on this?
Jim, thank you for that, for the opportunity to ask questions. One of the things I noticed was the turnover rate, and I'm just curious, because it's gone up, in my opinion, a noticeable amount from 15 to 22%. And I know one of the discussions has to do with, investing in talent. How do we think that's going? And what are kind of the discussion points relative to bringing that rate down? And I know all organizations are having this discussion right now.
Awesome. Thank you for the question, Jesus. And that's actually a perfect segue into the second thing I wanted to talk about, which was you also have in your packet this new quarterly report format. We've changed up our quarterly report. It used to be oriented around the Valley Metro divisions. It's now oriented around the 9 goals. And you can see there we have brief performance measures and then comments on those measures for each goal and summaries of the current status for the actions described. So, Jesus, I know you're referring to the graph on page 4 that's showing the annualized turnover rate for the agency as a whole. I'll ask Penny Lynch if she's got any thoughts on that. But while she's coming to the podium, let me just clarify. This speaks only to Valley Metro FTEs specifically. So we're actually in a very good place, the best place we've been in many months for most of our contracted positions. So East Valley operator, West Valley operators, allied security team members. We have seen a little bit of an uptick in turnover for Valley Metro FTE. I'm not aware that there's a specific underlying cause for that, just kind of normal seasonal up and down. Penny, is there anything that you'd like to add?
It's primarily, as you've noted.
No, absolutely. I think, yeah, Penny, if you'd like to.
Thank you. Just to reiterate what Jim was saying, right now turnovers is not really increasing substantially. What we are looking forward to, based on board support, was our class and comp study and getting those key essential positions out at operations within market. And I think we'll see at that point in time some leveling off of potential turnover. We're also looking at, work environment, all factors using exit surveys. So we continue to monitor that.
What is the status of the class and comp study?
The current status, and I want to thank all of our member cities who've been participating in the survey. We are still in a data gathering process relative to, we've sent out our market survey to our member cities as well as our transit peers as well. So we're still in the data gathering. We'll be pulling that together here shortly.
And do you expect to have those results before the next budget year?
Yes, we'll be proposing bringing back that information here into the board relative to the market results, as well as potential options for review and consideration by the board.
We aim to, if I may, Mr. Chair, Mr. Sapien, we aim to bring this item back to the board, this item being the classic compensation study in early 2025. As you know, we're already well underway in the FY26 development process. By then, we do have some placeholder there. It has been over 16 years since we've conducted a classification and compensation study. We have, of course, made market adjustments along the way. And so what we would be working together with the board and city staff on would be a strategy, perhaps it's all at once or incremental, for making adjustments. We're especially focusing those workforce categories. This is to your question, Mr. Sapien, about the increase in turnover rate. We are struggling most with the skilled trades, particularly our teams who are tasked with maintaining our rail system. So think things like traction power electricians, track maintainers. We have high vacancy rates in these areas, and we are competing against a very robust economy here in the greater Phoenix region for employees who have technical skills like electricians. So we will have to look at work condition, work schedule. To the extent that we can, we perform most of our electrical work on our overhead catenary system and signal cabinets at night, as you might imagine, but compensation is part of that.
Thank you for that. What I would recommend is, because as you all know, Phoenix undertook a very long class and comp study, and I think it's taken just as long to implement it as it did to do the actual study. So, whether it be Phoenix or another transit agency or similar size organization, I would encourage you guys to, have some discussions about what kind of information goes out to employees when you're implementing the class and comp, because it's a little difficult to understand when some positions go up or down or stay the same. And then secondly, what do you do with the positions where the consultant may have missed the mark? How do you continue to make, adjustments relative to that? Because on Phoenix's side, we probably have way more positions than Valley Metro does, but there were some where our human resources staff recognized that the consultant may have missed the mark or compared them to positions in other organizations that were not quite equitable. And so, those post-implementation fixes have also, taken some time. Thank you.
I would add to that, we're trying to hit the mark through this study. So we have a pretty detailed project management plan. So we tend not to hire a consultant and send them off to the races. So we're working very closely together. We have a committee structure, including a steering committee that's guiding the consultant along the way, identifying what are and are not like positions and like agencies so that we can hopefully get closer to the mark with the recommendations.
Thank you. Yes, those are key points for sure. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none. Jim, do you have more to your presentation or is that it?
No, Mr. Chair, if there are no other questions, thank you.
All right, thank you. Just a reminder, this item was presented for information only. No action is required. Item number 7, travel and expenditures. Are there any questions from the committee? Once again, this is for information only. Item 8, report on current events and suggested future items. Are there any current events or future agenda items for consideration from the committee? Okay, seeing none, our next meeting is Wednesday, January 8th at 2025 at 11 a.m. With that, I'll adjourn this meeting and convene the Transit Management Committee meeting. I'll move to item number 1, minutes from the September 4th TMC meeting presented for approval. Are there any questions on this? Seeing none, I'll take a motion in a second to approve these minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I will second that amazing motion.
Thank you both. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 2, April 2025 proposed service changes. Jessica, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to invite Aaron Xavier, our Manager of Service Planning, to the podium to provide a brief overview regarding the April 2025 proposed service changes, which include some minor adjustments to running time, but changes to 2 routes, the Route 515, Fountain Hills Mesa Connector, and Route 531 Mesa Gilbert Express.
Morning. Thank you, Jessica, Chair, members of the committee. So we do have 2 major service changes that are proposed. So one is the elimination of the 515, which is the Fountain Hills Mesa Connector, essentially due to low ridership on that route, limited funding to continue that route. It's essentially being eliminated. And the second change that we have is the 531 ending its service at the Gilbert Park and Ride, which is no longer going to be in service due to downtown revitalization efforts in that area, essentially repurposing that land use. So it's going to be ending a little bit more north up Gilbert Road at the essentially Houston and Gilbert Road intersection, a little bit south of Baseline. So folks still really need to use Park and Ride. They can, of course, go to the East Mesa Park and Ride. So are there any questions on these service changes or any potential schedule adjustments?
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Aaron.
Great, thank you very much.
I'll request a motion and a second to forward to the Board of Directors approval of these service changes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the April 2025 proposed service changes.
I have a motion.
I'll
Waiting for a second.
Harold from Avondale.
Second from Harold. Thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Report on current events. Again, are there any reports on current events or requests for future agenda items from the committee? Seeing none, next meeting is Wednesday, January 8th at 2025 at 11 a.m. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Give people a little bit to log off. Okay, I'll call the Rail Management Committee meeting for November 6th to order. We have the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items from the consent agenda they have questions about or they'd like to pull? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Did everybody go?
Madam Chair, I had a question on item 1C. If we could pull that.
Okay,
Other than that, I move approval of the consent agenda.
okay, so do you want to take your question and approve the consent agenda all over?
Sure.
again? Okay.
So we had a discussion with Valley Metro staff about the VIX spare parts, and we understand it better now. But our understanding is that this is for spare parts that are non-serviceable, that are not covered by the warranty, and that would be, due to parts that need replacing because of wear and tear, age, and vandalism. Can we confirm that?
Thank you, committee members. I do not know right now, but I can find that information for you and get back to you.
I can answer the question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Yes, indeed, they are, Mr. Sapien. And I just want to note that one difference between the ticket vending machines, of course, and some of the other equipment that we purchase is that ticket vending machines are in the public domain. And as such, are subject to not only the elements, but all kinds of use and abuse. And so this particular set of spare parts is indeed related to items that are not covered by our warranty with VIX at the onset of the equipment life cycle.
Thank you for that. And perhaps mention that at the board meeting, because we do have, a lot of information going out about these machines are new. And we have informed our elected officials about the fact that we've worked with a vendor to increase the warranty because of the elements here. So I want to make sure that the message is clear that these are items that were not serviceable, maybe due to damage, elements, age, wear and tear. Thank you. Other than that, I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, can I say aye, opposed, say no?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on. Item number 3, Operations and Maintenance Center Sole Source Parts Inventory Contract Awards. Jessica? No, it's item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm navigating there at this moment. I also want to invite Wendy Platnitis to the podium, should there be any questions. This item is for a not to exceed amount of $1.580 million in sole source parts for light rail vehicles and maintenance of way. Each of these parts would be acquired from the original equipment manufacturer. So that is the reason for the sole source, but these are repair and replacement parts, including variable message boards, high-speed circuit breakers and switches, pantograph parts, as well as circuit boards and relays. So all specific, again, to the rail vehicles themselves or to maintenance of way, namely those overhead catenary systems. If there are any questions, Ms. Platnitis is here to answer them.
Any questions? Okay, I'm going to restate. Apparently, this is item number 2 on the agenda. I have an old agenda. So do we have a motion to approve item number 2, the sole source parts inventory item?
Madam Chair, I would move approval on item number 2.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 3, now the ACI Rail Transportation Services Contract Amendment. Jessica.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item is brought before the RMC and hopefully later the board, requesting approval to exercise the final 2 option years of our ACI, that's Alternate Concepts Incorporated, rail operations contract. This is the contract period that would carry us through the South Central operations. I want to thank our Rail City staff for working so closely with Valley Metro staff over a period of months to craft the change order and contract extension that is before you today. Included in this is an increase in workforce to support the South Central extensions, some adjustments to wage rates by the contractor to help us improve recruitment and retention. We have also implemented a number of new policies and procedures, some of which are codified in this change order regarding system safety. I want to invite Chris Ramirez to the podium. Chris is our Deputy Chief of Rail Operations. Mr. Ramirez is going to walk you through this contract amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So looking at this is the exercising the final 2-year option on the current contract we have with Alternative Concepts Incorporated, who is our transportation contractor for our rail services. What we're looking to do is this is adding 49 million in addition to 10% contingency to increase the number of train operators we have and frontline staff to open up the South Central extension and also as part of the downtown hub as well, moving to a regional 2-line light rail system. We also added some language to clarify performance expectations within the contract itself. These are intended to help promote accountability and also improve the customer experience as well. And one note we did want to mention is that this amendment does not incorporate any changes that may be part of the new union contract that's currently under negotiation, set to take effect as well July 1st of 2026. Going a bit into the performance metrics that we're looking at, we have incorporated early departures into our actual on-time performance metrics. Our current standard only does look at the terminal arrivals, but this will be more holistic, capturing the customer experience and also promoting accountability for those metrics. The complaint resolution process we have worked on with our transportation contractor to provide a more expeditious resolution and close the loop with our customers. This is just solidifying that language within the contract and also adding accountability metrics in that area. The accident thresholds and working with our Valley Metro Safety Department have also been clearly defined and updated, and the reporting requirements are also explicitly stated as part of this update as well. Key personnel and our staffing benchmarks have been added, not only for South Central, but also trying to look forward toward the future and our future extensions as part of this contract. And as always, we tie this to the strategic plan of delivering an excellent customer experience and also operational excellence. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'm sorry, I was reading. Go ahead. Do you have any questions, Jose? Please.
I do, Madam Chair. I have 3 questions. You want them one at a time or all at once?
We can go one by one.
First one is where you say the amendment does not incorporate potential changes due to the new union contract. Are we to infer that if costs are higher than what the contractor anticipated, then cities would have to make up the difference, or how's that going to work?
This is something that is under consideration within it. As you also noted, there is a contingency noted within that contract. Should you have any further financial questions, I can also have our finance team come up to address any specifics you may have.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what does that dot point mean?
Mr. Sapien, members of the Management Committee. Essentially, as far as budget perspective, obviously we're talking contract here. Each year we put a budget together as a plan and we refine that if needed. So we do have, let's say, our budget in place for 26 and we don't yet know exactly what that agreement is. We could include some additional contingency to the satisfaction of the cities within that budget ahead of time. Or we could come back with a mid-year. Based on the amount of this, I would anticipate that we might be able to live within the budget should something happen, unless it's a very extreme difference from what we planned on. So.
Okay, thank you. The second question I had is on page 4. It talks about current hours and planned hours. What's the frequency under the planned hours?
So this is off the basis of a 12-minute headway for the light rail system.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question. We were wondering what's the timeline of, approximately on considering this as the last of the 2-year available options. What's the timeline of putting out a new RFP in anticipation of this expiring in middle of 27?
So that is a process that would start early next year in terms of looking at our current documentation and working with our contracts and procurement department and our member cities as part of that process.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, Mr. Sapien, that's about a year-long procurement process for a contract like this. Yeah, so, we might not begin January 1, but January 2nd, we'll begin scoping this next RFP.
We're doing our West RFP, which is about 30% of our service, and I will tell you, it's probably been a little more than a year, and this is a bigger chunk, so we'll be very interested to see how it goes. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think staff has a list of items that we weren't able to include in this contract amendment. It's not a new contract, but things that we would like to do, that we would like to elicit in terms of performance from our forthcoming contract. So we've got that list on deck.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Do we have a motion to move this item to the board?
Madam Chair, I would move approval that this item move forward as per the recommendation shown.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I don't think there's any opposed. Okay, this item goes forward. Item number 4, report on current events and suggested future items. Anybody have anything? Hearing none. The next meeting of the Rail Management Committee will be Wednesday, January 8th at January 2025 at 11 a.m. Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas.
All right.
Excellent job.
Thank you all.
I know, I'm like, I wanted to say January 8th at 2025. I'm like, well, that's not gonna work. All right, the Rail Management Committee is over.